Welcome to the Dunk City Podcast.
Change direction by Ellis hits it. Bronny Ellis has been good show. It is a Trojan tundra. USC is on to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2000.
All right, Kurt Karis is in his sixth season with the USC men's basketball program. It's his first as an assistant coach. He was elevated to the position on August 2nd. He spent the previous 3 seasons as Director of Scouting and following 2 seasons as a graduate assistant with the USC men's basketball program. And we are very glad to have him on the program. Kurt, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on today, guys.
So tell me, how does a young man from Northbrook, Illinois, who went to Chicago State, find his way over to Los Angeles and USC?
With a lot of luck, but it was more when I played at Chicago State, I was able to gather enough film to kind of send over to Coach Enfield and check me out as a preferred walk-on, and I kind of was able to. He liked what he saw, and kind of just hit it off ever since after that. So it just kind of fell into place when it needed to fall into place, and I tried to be as helpful as I can while I was here, and I think that worked out for me. So, but it came with luck for sure.
Did you grow up a Northwestern fan?
Not so much actually. My dream school was always the University of Illinois. My oldest brother went there. I'm one of 10 kids. So
wow.
He went there. He was the oldest one. That was the first school that he went to. So everyone was kind of Illinois. So that was my dream school. I was actually decided when I was transferring, I was gonna go to Illinois, and I wasn't going to play basketball or do anything. I was kind of just going to go to Illinois after I was transferring, and then the USC opportunity came up, and I couldn't pass at it. So, and I've been here ever since.
You guys could play. You could field 2 squads in your family. Do you like?
Yeah.
Do you guys have
2
like,
platoons?
Yeah, exactly. Do you have 5-on-5 family games?
Yeah, we had really good 1-on-1 games. So let's keep it at that. We had points where my dad was like, I stopped reffing because someone would always end up in a bush or someone would be in a fight. So he was done with it. But there's definitely some good 1-on-1 battles. Is your last name Greek? Yes. So my dad was 100% Greek. I'm 50% Greek. My mom's Italian. But yeah, I'm Greek.
Awesome.
Greek American.
I'm gonna ask you more about that when we ask about the Greek trip. Mark, I think you got a couple questions.
Yeah. Kurt, Mark Backstrom, thanks for being with us. What are some of your best memories playing basketball for USC?
Yeah, I think the first when I was at Chicago State, you always to get to the tournament, you had to win your conference tournament, right? And that was always a dream of mine, getting to the NCAA tournament. And then my first year here, when I sat out, we went, and I actually wasn't traveling with the team at the time because I was redshirting. But that just to even be around a program that was at that level was really, really amazing. And then the next year we went again. We fell short of we should have went to the Sweet 16. Baylor got hot at the end of the game and ended up beating us. But I think just being around winning culture and a winning program and seeing the NCAA tournament, because the school that I was at, obviously, like when you're at low major, you win your conference tournament and that's it. If you don't, you don't go. And I think just being able to see the NCAA tournament, and obviously I think almost now it's like we're like desensitized to it. I'm not. I think it's every year. It's like I try and tell our guys before the year, it's the coolest thing that you'll be a part of. I promise you. Like and it still is to this day. Like it's just there's no feeling like it. So I think that was definitely one of my best memories, is just being able to go to the tournament and just see like that atmosphere and how cool it actually is.
You just brought back a memory for me, that second season when you traveled with the squad. I believe that shot that Elijah hit to beat SMU to
Yes.
take us to Baylor, that was right in front of our own bench, if I recall correctly.
Yes, it was right actually right in front of me. That's right. That's where I used to sit. So
I thought so.
He was right there, and I actually that was another fun memory. Is one Kevin Harlan said my name, which like Kevin Harlan's like the voice of basketball, so like that was like really cool for me. He's like when he said my name, I was like, oh, I'd never think that person would ever say my name in a basketball context. So that was really cool for me.
What about when Steve Lavin said you had a nice head of lettuce? Yeah, that
Lettuce.
was
My brother.
that was,
My brother still has my phone. My phone contact is Kurt Karis. So yeah. So that has stuck around my family as well. That was a good one too.
Yeah. So, first of all, you buried the lead by not introducing yourself as Kurt Lettuce Karis.
I messed that one up.
That's okay. So yeah, being a non-scholarship player though, what was that like?
It's amazing. And Coach Enfield is even in my roles that I've been three different roles now. Coach Enfield's always been awesome at being inclusive and like I knew my role. Like I leaving Chicago State, I kind of like knew what I was going to be, and he relied on me for things. And Coach Enfield trusts me. Like he played me in the first half in a couple games, like Hawaii. When we were in Hawaii, he played me in the first half at Akron. Like he would play me. He trusted me because I knew his offense, and he could if J-Mac needed a break in practice, he knew I'd be able to go out there and get the job done or make sure that like the offense was still flowing. But being a walk-on, I knew what my role was. It was to, like build, like keep the team together and be fun. That wave of the fun length, or for some of the players that are, playing those heavy minutes and all of that. So like being a walk-on was honestly a very great experience for me, and it honestly opened my eyes. I knew I wanted to be a coach, but I didn't know I wanted to be a coach at this level. It opened my eyes to be what I wanted to do after college. I knew I wasn't going to play after college, and I love like basketball is my passion, and it really made me realize that this was my passion of what I wanted to do going forward in life. So it was eye opening. It was an amazing experience, and Coach Enfield made it all the worth it.
So that was actually leading into my next question about when you figured out that you wanted to be on the basketball staff. Did that happened when you were at USC? And do you think being a walk-on versus maybe a scholarship player who played 30 minutes, do you think that would have changed your perspective on wanting to be a coach?
Maybe probably a little bit. Like because I saw the outs. Like I saw how the coaches were dealing with stuff, and as a walk-on, like that's kind of what your job is too. At the end of the bench, they come in, they're pissed off, and you kind of have to calm them down. And that's a big part of coaches is managing the players' emotions during the games, because emotions get high, and he might not be vibing with what coach is doing at that moment because he took him out. So you get someone else has to talk to him. So like you get to see that perspective of it, and it was really cool to see. And I'm big on like relationships and building relationships with people, and like this coaching staff, like that I saw it as a player, and I was like, wow, the coaching staff really does a good job of this. Like I feel like this is like a culture that I would love to be a part of, and all of that. And obviously I got lucky. My mentor when I was a GA was Martin Bahar, and he left to go to San Diego, and Coach Enfield was nice enough to keep me on the staff. But I mean, you never know where you're going to end up. But I got lucky, and I got to be able to kind of wedge myself into this staff that Coach Enfield has built, and it's obviously been so successful. I mean, you don't really hear a ton about it because Coach Enfield's kind of under the radar guy, but like what he's done in his tenure here has been pretty impressive, and he doesn't get enough credit for it. So I mean, and he'll even say it's a big testament to his staff and the people that he selects to be around him. So that's kind of what I saw as a walk-on, and then as a GA, and then as I moved forward, it was kind of just really nice to be a part of that culture.
So you got the fire in the belly now. You're ready. You want to be a head coach one day?
Yeah. The head coach, you go back and forth. You just see how busy Coach Enfield is. It's like, hey, maybe just being under him would be great too. But being a head, but then you go back and forth. You see what he's really good at, and then there's also things that like maybe like if you have your own program, you could do X, Y, and Z that Coach Enfield might not want to implement. And everyone has their different styles, so but that's the only thing that I think about a head coach. I mean, you're busy, and Coach Enfield's always got something on his plate and all that, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I can tell you, just going back to what you said about the job that Coach Enfield's done. Chris and I have been fans of the program for over 30 years. So you're talking to two people that do understand the
Yeah,
magnitude of the
that's
lift
good.
that's been done
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Hey, about scouting, my understanding is that you're still scouting is still under your purview. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, no
So
doubt.
some questions about that. I'm the metrics guy. I have all kinds of proprietary metrics that I do. So one of my things I'm curious about is, does scouting involve metrics or only video?
Both. So Coach Evans actually, he's a numbers guy. Like Coach Enfield will, you show him stats and he'll be able to pick apart all of that. And but we do watch a ton of film. I'd say it's more heavy on film than stats, or metrics. Like we obviously use the basic stats. We're not super advanced in analytics. Like we have some that we use, but we use a lot of film. We film obviously this we film every practice. We film. Obviously, we get all of their game film, but we watch film after every game, before every practice. So we're really going into depth on a lot of things, trying to pick up on tendencies and what plays they're running a ton, and like even with the guys, like okay, obviously like the scouting stuff, you guys know, like he likes to go left, he likes to go right. If he gets in the lane, he's going to broad jump into your body and just wall up. Like so certain things like that. When you start watching a ton of film, you really are able to pick up on what those metrics are kind of saying. So like basically, we use those metrics to kind of add up to what we're kind of telling our guys, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're looking at other programs, obviously, I'm sure that maybe one or two stand out as maybe being just a little bit doing things differently or really innovative.
Mm-hmm. Uh, the one that really is hard to game plan for, especially when they had Tubelis and Balo, and they always had that big front court. And Tubelis was just so freaking good last year, and the way and how fast Arizona plays is like it's hard to game plan for because you're worried about their transition. Then you get into the half court, and they're so dominant inside, and he's so good at using his body that you don't know whether switching is the best thing or which way is the best way to guard certain actions. So I would say when Tubelis was there, that was pretty hard. But I mean, and the way that they run was very impressive last year. So and then and a lot of scouting is matchups, right? Like there's certain teams that just they match up well with you, whether they're 3-23 or they're 25-3. Like sometimes you just match up well with a team where all around the board where it just makes it a tougher game, and you see that time and time again where obviously those like where the metrics and all the where everyone else like the media sees, oh, this team's 3-23, but no, this team matches up well with you and what you're trying to do. So it's kind of you have to game plan against that as well. So
It's amazing. My old roommate was actually student manager for the team back in the early '90s. He said the exact same thing. He said, "Don't overlook any opponent because it's all about matchups."
matchups is everything. I mean, if you look at Oregon State the last couple of years with us, they've always played us well. And I don't know if it's because Tinkle gets them ready to play or just their play style, but they always play us well. And it's maybe just how they match up against us. But there's a more to like, oh, we have a better team on paper. Obviously, I mean, you've seen it time and time again where these teams lose, and maybe 9 times out of 10 you're going to beat that team, but they can give you a good run because they match up well with you, and people look past that a lot.
Yeah, and that's interesting you bring that up. I think a lot of that stems from coaches will typically recruit players with specific traits that they value. And going back to the scouting and recruiting, are there? I'm imagining that when you're scouting recruits, there are some traits that are particularly valued. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot like things that we focus on heavily, and there's definitely a lot of turnoffs when you look at a lot of these younger players, and there's a lot of people that are in their ear, and that's something that we look at. And I mean, if you obviously if you guys have paid attention to Coach Enfield, he likes long and likes being able to like switch and do all that stuff. So there's definitely a certain type of player and person that we're looking for, like personality and all of that. Like I think that's something that we actually, and I think that's what made Coach Enfield's tenure here so successful, is he's kind of narrowed down that, and he's been able to really find the player that he wants and wants to play for him. So
Who would be the epitome of that type of player?
we go all across the board. I mean, like if you look at like the D'Anthony Meltons and Kobe Johnson, like that's a Coach Enfield player. You know, someone that you could play in multiple positions. He's long. They're long. They play on both ends of the floor. They're smart on both ends of the floor. Great family. You know, like that type of player. And what's the great thing about both of them? Both those players that I read, obviously there's more than that. But both those players were 3-star recruits, and you know, that's another thing that Coach Enfield doesn't look past, is like talent shows, and talent outweighs those numbers that people see and that the media puts out. But those two players were 3-star players coming out, and Coach Enfield saw something in them, and they're blossoming at the right time. I mean, obviously D'Anthony's playing in Philadelphia right now, and I played with D'Anthony. We used to always joke, like everything he did was, if there was something happening in the possession, D'Anthony was a part of it. So, and then Kobe's the same way. So I mean, that's the type of player that Coach looks for, and numbers. I mean, obviously you're going after those 5 stars and 4 stars, but Coach Enfield's not going to look past anything.
Yeah, interesting. You brought up Kobe Johnson and his first season. You know, at times I saw, okay, maybe there's something here, but you know, typical freshman. There's moments that are great, moments that aren't. But man, what a big jump he made last season. And I'm wondering, you know, you've been with the program in different roles for over 7 years now. Which player have you seen make the most progress as long as you've been with the program?
He's got to be up there. But I also think, like, if you really look at Isaiah Mobley's trajectory here, like his freshman year, he didn't play a lot. He's playing strictly 5, and then his last year here, he was, you know, basically our everything. You know, we ran our offense through him. He brought up the ball. You know, he like kind of like was able to do everything, and he was able shooting it a lot better, and like that was a great. He's a great. I mean, obviously he's a 5-star, but like he came in and you know, that whole story was great. Like Onyeka came in and he wasn't McDonald's All-American or anything, and he came in and just took us by storm. Every day we were like, holy, like really, like this, he's on our team. Like, thank God, you know, like he was amazing. And Isaiah was completely cool with coming off the bench as the higher recruit, quote unquote. And, you know, he just got better and better every year and got drafted and just kept working, you know, and there's a lot of, I mean, that happens a lot here too, because we've had it every which way. We've had 1 and dones, 2 and dones, 3 and dones, and 4 and dones. So like, I mean, we've been able to work with people, and that's kind of our priority. Is obviously now you can go in the transfer portal. We've taken our select few guys, but we try and get the young guys and develop them and try and build them in our system, and we really try and. We're not just saying that, I guess obviously people, I think, just say that, but we really, really try and work and develop and keep them in our system.
Yeah, I'm as an accounting major, I'm very partial to Isaiah, because my understanding he was an accounting major too. So I think he's probably got his head on straight. You make a good point. It's I never thought about this before, but thinking about, you know, just how incredibly heralded his older brother or his younger brother was, and being in the same class as Onyeka. Yeah. That takes a special kind of guy to hang in there and not just say, you know, screw this, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. You know, I need my me moment. And he just seems like he really just put his nose to the grindstone and just said, I'll just keep working.
Exactly, and that's exactly what he did. Like his not all of his numbers went up, and I mean, like if you probably look at his usage rate, I don't know exactly what it was his last year, but I guarantee you it was probably one of the highest in the country, just like based on how we used them and where we used them at. So
along those lines, to my eye and to my metrics too, I'm looking for another person, especially big men, might make a leap this season. It looked to me that Kajani from the Oregon State game forward just became a different kind of guy. It just seems like the switch just went on. You know, he's not the biggest, longest guy. He's a good defender, which I think my impression from, you know, home and the metrics is that he's just a smart guy as much as anything else because he's
Yep.
not the longest or the highest jumper. Am I being too optimistic, or do the numbers
No,
speak truth?
and that it's funny you say that. I mean, he's had a great end of the summer. He was good in the Europe on the Europe trip. He's really bought into what makes him good as a player, and I think that's really helped him. I think when he got here, he didn't know where he wanted to play at, and he's gotten better finishing around the rim, finishing outside the paint. He's physical. He has big hands, which is good, and like you said, he's really, really good defensively. He knows his spots. He knows how to the ball screen coverage, and you can switch him onto a guard because he can move his feet pretty well. But yeah, that observation is accurate because he had a great end to our summer training, and now leading up to our full training camp, he's going to be hopefully a big piece of what we do and why we're special this year.
I love that term.
And
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and if we, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into him, but when you have a guy like Isaiah Collier, you're going to get a extra couple points just because he's a magician, so he's special.
He is. Sorry to cut you off there. I love that term that you used. I wrote it down. He bought into what makes him good as a player. That is so perfectly said, and I think that's the struggle I see with the younger players. Is just exactly that concept, and you said it so much better than I could ever say.
And the thing is with that is like a lot of these these younger guys again have people in their ear. You need to do this and this to get to the league, or like everyone wants that bigger thing, but sometimes like you have to polish what you're really good at and what gets you on the floor, because what gets you when you're on the floor, that's what people are watching, right? So you got to be able to get on the floor, and then you could start expanding, and that's what we work at is we're trying to make you really good, and then we'll let you work on things that you might not be as good at, but buy into what gets you on the floor and what makes you what helps you win, because if you're winning, people are watching, and that's what gets you to that next level, and that's what gets you and that's what some of these younger guys need to understand. That's why I said it like that.
And I'm guessing to your earlier point about young men that are coachable and come from good families, I'm sure that's a part of it, because I'm guessing a lot of these guys were the best at basically everything they did. They had the best handles, and they were the most athletic, and they were the best shooters, and they were the best at everything. And it's kind of a come to Jesus moment to say, this is what you are at this level. That can't be the easiest thing in the world, I'm guessing.
I know. I mean, yeah, exactly. And I always make the comparisons. You want to play at the NBA level, right? So you think about it but you're going to go in the NBA, and let's say you do get drafted in the first round to a team. That team, I can almost guarantee you that teammate or that team has a person that's getting paid $40 million a year to do what you think you're coming into the league to do. So for you to be able to get on the floor, you're going to have to find something that sticks. And whether it's defense, whether it's rebounding, whether it's being a 3-and-D guy or whatever it is, you're coming into a team that has seniors, and you have to find a spot that gets you on the floor as a freshman. So, and I think that's like a good way to look at it, because not everything you might not need to do everything just yet. At some point you will, but right now, maybe not.
Yeah.
So,
and then just drawing the lens back a little from the team just to more the season, based on the tape that you've seen, what teams look the most impressive that we're going to face heading into this season?
I think Oregon's going to have a really good squad. Arizona's going to be sneaky good. UCLA. So UCLA is going to be an interesting one. Those guys, those European guys are ready to play. So they're going to be good. I think that's going to, and then I think Cal's going to have actually a better team than people are probably thinking about. I think Mark's done a great job over there. So I think the Pac-12's got a good season ahead of us. And then non-conference, when we open up with Kansas State's going to be awesome. At Auburn's going to be awesome. We have a chance to play or in San Diego. Our slate's going to be really good this year. But just in terms of conference, those top 4 teams are going to be really good. Oregon's going to be really good this year.
Interesting. Just one more thing on that. just on the schedule you're talking about from a metric standpoint, I'm already having nightmares about the North Texas transfer to Kansas State. Don't know if you've seen him yet, but my gosh.
Yeah, he was great. He had 9 threes in their last game in on their foreign tour. I mean, he's gonna be a good player. We'll game plan for him, and we'll be all right.
Yeah, we've been known to defend now and then, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. I think the one thing all the listeners want to know is how that European trip went. A lot of people watch the games from here. It was a great opportunity to watch all the games for once. What was your impressions of the trip? What kind of fun did you have? You got to go back to your ancestral homeland, and
Yeah.
so that must have been pretty
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, the trip was amazing. The travel days were a lot. Um, 'Cause getting to Europe from LA is not great. I'll tell you that much. But that's besides the point. But the trip itself was really really awesome, and it was very. The trip to me, I mean, it was great. The basketball was great, but it was honestly really awesome to see just our guys, in their element. And Coach Enfield gives them freedom out there, but like being able to, we have boosters on the trip, and just see them like just really have a great time together. And I think that's what's also very special about this team is you just see how well they all get along together. And I think that was this trip played a big part in that. And I think that was more of like my highlight of the trip was like kind of just seeing them like like they were cliff jumping and doing like stuff that they might not have like never have done before, because like 2 guys jumped off the cliff, so now 6 guys jumped off the cliff, so like it was just kind of really cool to see all that from like just a sitting back perspective. And that's basketball aside. And then when the basketball did end up coming and we played and just see how excited they got, because like the first 3 days like they didn't touch a basketball, and then we got to Mykonos, and then we finally had a shoot around, and just how excited and like they sparked up and were ready to play. And it's a lot, and it might not seem like like everyone thinks you go to these trips and you should kick the crap out of like these teams, and these teams want to beat you just as bad, and they've probably been practicing, and obviously we had our 10 practices before we left, but it was to see them get out there and go and just like they were just enjoying themselves and enjoying playing, and you just saw it in their energy and the way that they were playing, and it was just really really cool to see. So
Who impressed you the most beyond the headliners? Who really grew the most on that trip?
I thought Johnny was great. Josh had a couple moves that I was like, wow, Josh was doing some stuff that that was he had that rip through dunk and dunked on Uros Plazovic, who played at Tennessee the year before, and that was great. We had and Kobe was looking like great offensively. So we just had guys that came in and they're just ready to play, and it was I mean, all across the board, I think everyone had like had some great impact on the games. So,
How do you look at those games? Do you just not read too much into them, or do you? Is it hard to not pick the things you really like and then think and have them mean something?
yeah, it's funny. It's funny you ask these. Like when I was rewatching them, it's like like I'm so used to like going into depth and watching them and pulling stuff, and this it's like I got to remember that like Isaiah is a freshman and he's only had 10 practices, and DJ's only been in our system for 3 months, and so like there's things where you're like, oh wait, Kurt, like slow your roll, like okay, we could talk about this, but we don't need to really lay into it yet, like when maybe when it comes October or something, now we could or November, we could start laying into them a little bit when we get some more practices and games under our belt. Like that's when so you definitely weigh on it a little bit, and there's certain things that we need to clean up for sure. Like offensively, we weren't polished. Defensively, we weren't polished. And there's certain parts that we were good, but we're not at the spot where we need to be at yet. Like our freshmen need to be better. But that's just all comes with coming into training camp and all of that. Like I mean, we'll have them ready to go by season, and everyone just needs to buy into the full concept. And but you definitely don't weigh into it too hard just yet. if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
When we were going to do our interview before, we was going to be before the trip, and of course, the incident happened with Bronny. I know you can't go into too much detail on that, and I won't ask you to, but in a general sense, how do things feel? Do you think should USC fans be optimistic about seeing Bronny contribute to the team this year?
I mean, you'd be optimistic, yeah. Just like his family's been great. He's been great, and I think that more stuff will be put out and more stuff to come. And I think optimism's what everyone should be right now. So, or optimistic is what everyone should be, and never should be positive and keep giving him the positive energy that he needs going forward. But he's been in great. He's been in great spirits. He's been to both football games and he's working as hard as he can, and our staff's working as hard as they can, and he's doing everything right. So I'll put it at that, and you guys will probably more to come. So we'll see.
Yeah. Now that you've seen the team play out in Europe, do you find yourself envisioning where if that ever did work out well with Bronny, where you'd plug him in?
Yeah, I mean he's gonna be what if let's just say optimistically he will he'll help our team a lot, and he knows how to play offensively and defensively. He's athletic. He's a great player. Everyone loves to be around him, which is great, and I think there's always a spot on the floor for someone like that. And he was hitting a stride, and he's going to be ready to go. So,
all right, Mark.
So after I graduated, a young man named Desmond Farmer came to the squad, and you work with him now, and I think you practice with the squad with him from time to time. What's it like to work with him?
Des is great. He brings that silliness, for lack of a better word, that you need around. And he's a great to be around, and he's great with the players, and the players trust him on a lot of things, and he brings that aspect to the to the work office and to the players that when they need it, because the season's grueling, it's long, and and you can get sick of hearing the same thing over and over again and from the same people. So it's nice to have like Des is good at that, and making sure that like he's able to talk to him and do all that. So Des is great to work with.
It's same thing when he was a player. He always brought the energy. He was just like the one guy.
Exactly. He's a great energy. He has a great energy to be around. He always makes you smile, brings a smile to your face, and it definitely hasn't changed. So,
and what's even better is I'm sure he's told you about this probably once or 100 times. He did very well against UCLA. My Bruin buddies cannot stand the guy. They just recoil whenever they see him.
I can imagine. Yeah, the thing is, he still. I can only imagine how well he shot back when he played. He still shoots it just as good. So he's fun to have up here, and I'm sure a lot of the Bruins don't like him for that.
So, yeah, goes without saying. So speaking of which, then, if you go one-on-one with him, you've got the youth. He's got the size, and you say you still got the touch. So who wins between you two?
Oh, that's a tough one. He could probably shoot me out of the gym. I never was a great shooter. He's a better shooter than me, but I think I'm a little bit faster than him. So I don't know. He'd have problems staying in front of me. It'd be a good one, but depends on how many dribbles I got. I'll just keep it at that.
Fair.
Kurt, being in the Pac-12, those teams inside and out. The familiarity is a factor both ways. From both a player and coach's perspective, how much would the lack of the familiarity with opposing personnel in the early going and their way of doing things, not to mention a whole new slate of unfriendly arenas, how will that affect year one in the Big Ten next year?
I think the arenas is more what I'm worried about, because they're gonna. Hopefully, we can start packing out Galen, but they might have more fans here than we would. But that's gonna change this year, and our marketing team's doing a great job, and I think we're adding some stuff to the Galen Center that's gonna make it more appealing for fans and to come. But I think honestly that will help a little bit, like a fresh eye on things, and and everyone, a big thing is everyone asks like, are you going to change the way you recruit? And the answer is probably no, because they have to guard us and they have to guard how we play and they have to guard how we recruit too. So, I mean, obviously you're going to you're going to have to go, and it's going to be a big test year and see what you need and what you need to do. But I just think that new faces, new schemes, and I think that's all good stuff, and the good thing about that league is you could be at the 8, 9, or 10, and you're still going into the tournament to being at 8, 9, or 10. Not saying that we want to be 1, 2, or 3, or we want to be 1. But just that league is just so highly acclaimed, and your quad 1 wins every night in and night out, and we're the Pac-12. You don't get that. Your quad 1 wins are elite teams, where sometimes I mean, Big Ten teams are elite, but those not lower tier, I don't, for lack of a better word, but our lower tiers, you can make or break your season. If we lose to 11 or 12 in our conference, that could make or break your season. You lose to 11 or 12 in the Big Ten, you're fine. Just another quad 1 loss. So that's a positive way of looking at this transition too, as well.
From a scouting perspective, do you have to kind of reset your knowledge base and start accumulating knowledge of these programs after this season?
Yeah, you probably start looking at them. We played Michigan State last year. I have a buddy who works at University of Illinois. So like I'm kind of familiar with, and I'm a basketball junkie, so I watch as much basketball as I can, and a lot of those coaches are Hall of Fame coaches, and so I've been watching them for a while. So I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with the territory, but I definitely need to touch up and watch a little bit more, and that'll come as we start to transition here.
What are you looking forward to the most about the move to the Big Ten?
That I get to go home more, but no. I think just like the basketball and like those arenas are just, I mean, like that's another part of like you asked me my memories and stuff of being a player and what my favorite memories are, like going to like I've looked at multiple people during that Star Spangled Banner, and I'm like, this is why I love college basketball. You just see the fans, and you see the pregame rituals that other arenas have and all that. It's just like it's unmatched, and you get I get the chills thinking about like that type of stuff. So like being able to see the arenas and all of that, I think that's like going to be pretty amazing. Arenas that like I grew up watching and aspiring to play there. I'm coaching there now, which is like really, really cool to me.
All right. One last question. Tell us about an instance when you think a properly scouted game helped lead USC to a win.
I think UCLA, we did a great in the second half. So we switched the game plan. We started switching everything. UCLA last year, when we actually had the game won, Jalen Clark missed a shot, or they missed a shot, got a rebound, and Jalen Clark hit the 3 at the top of the key. We switched our game plan, simplified it, and we started switching, and we started hedging screens and fronting the post. And then we also made it harder for Jaime. And I think when we key in a player like I think Jaime that game, he got a little bit, he scored late, like early, and then scored a little bit late, but I think we held him in check for the most part. So I think that was a good one. I mean, we should have won that game. We should have beat UCLA twice last year. But that 3-point shot that Jalen Clark hit was a dagger, but I think that was a great example of switching the game plan and not sticking to what we were, we kind of got into them at halftime and told we switched up what we needed to do, and it worked for us. We got back into the game. We had the game. We actually were up with the lead. All we had to do was secure a rebound. We would have won the game at Pauley, and we fell a little bit short. But it was cool to see them buy into what we were trying to do, and seeing that it worked was a great situation to be in as a coach.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
10 years. If I had it my way, I would be at USC still, in a higher capacity, and just making my way. I've again, that head coach and all that. That's I think a head coach would be amazing. But I'm grateful to be where I'm at now, and I just got to keep my head down and keep working. And hopefully, 10 years from now, I could be a head coach somewhere. But I love USD and I love where I'm at, and that goes without saying. So
Just keep that head of lettuce fresh.
yeah, exactly. Got to keep it fresh. Got to keep it permed up. So,
All right, Mark, got anything else to ask Kurt?
Just one other thing when you talked about the scouting, what was really interesting to me was you didn't mention, and I'm wondering if this is part of that same scouting that you mentioned. The analyst, I forget who did it, said that we did a great job of denying the entry pass from the free throw line to the interior. Do you remember that at all as part of that game plan?
yeah, so we wanted to make it harder to we always want to make it hard, especially that elbow. We always want to. That's one of the things we teach is make sure that we don't want people to get the ball in there. Right, you get the ball in there, you kind of have there's whatever you kind of want, and they were good at getting it there. If you get it to the elbow, then Jaime could get the high low. So we trying to make sure that they weren't able to get it that elbow spot and also Jaime was good at isolations in that spot. So trying to push him out was a big portion of what we were trying to do, make him be in spots that he wasn't necessarily comfortable in. So definitely that's always part of our game plan, but we definitely emphasized it more during that game, especially at the end, because when you're trying to come back from a deficit, you gotta really start making it harder for people, making people uncomfortable, and I think that's what a lot of teams like to be comfortable, and that's pushing them out and making them uncomfortable is always good for game planning. So
exactly, it seems like a lot of the next level defense is not to let somebody get where they how do I say this, where they want to get their shot off. It's almost making it, and you see this with your really good defensive teams, not even letting them get to the spot where they can make the pass to where they want to get to. That just seems like that next level of defense.
Exactly. That's another thing that goes overlooked is people think on ball defense is, makes you a good defender. If you watch the great defender, they know where to be. If you just pay attention to Kobe's great on the ball, but Kobe off the ball, even sometimes where it's you watch Kobe in film, you're oh, great. I should probably tell him that he shouldn't turn his back here, but he's so good at reading situations that you can't really tell him to not do what he does because he had 73 steals or 71 steals. I forget what it is. But he was top in the nation in steals and you can't really tell him to not do what he does, so.
Exactly. And it's hard because I don't scout all these teams like you do, but I can kind of recognize where we wanted to go with the ball. And you can tell the elite defensive teams that we play because it's to that point. We can't even get the ball to the point where we want to make that pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you have to think that's part of the offense, that maybe that first pass, but that third pass is where the entry starts. Okay, that going into it, so we're going to make that pass extremely hard to get, or we're going to push you out so that fourth pass where's the action's happening is the hardest pass of all of them. So that's kind of it's part of game planning. So that's definitely right, and you're right in saying that.
Kurt Karis, the newest USC Trojan assistant coach. Thanks for coming on the Dunk City podcast. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the rest of your summer and that your preparation for the upcoming season goes well. We're looking forward to it. I think most USC fans are probably looking forward to this season more than any in recent memory. So thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And you should be excited. It's going to be a great year, and we're working hard over here. So we're excited. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kurt.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Dunk City podcast. Remember, you can find us at dunkcitypod.com, which you can also get to through uscbasketball.com. Be sure to find us also on any of your favorite streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, any of them. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and rate us so we can feel the encouragement and keep on bringing you good content. Thanks to Kurt Karis for coming on the show. On behalf of Mark Backstrom and myself, we'll see you next time.